Alright, what's up everybody? It's Kaiden. I'm your Friday guy, like you know. I decided to start to film this video in the car on my way home from work because it might get a little bit emotional to me and I don't want to be sitting and crying in front of this camera. I figured that if my mind was distracted on coming home, that I wouldn't get as worked up about it. As you guys know, it's a free topic week. And I have a very, very pressing thing that I would like to talk about, and it's a little bit more serious. So I'm just going to warn you that this is going to be something very personal to me, and it's going to be something that is very deep and uncomfortable for a lot of people to hear and talk about. So I'm going to put a trigger warning up right now so that everybody that will possibly be affected by this or will have any kind of reaction can tune out or be aware of what's going to happen. So here we go. The thing that I want to talk about is this Cavanaugh trial. And I've been seeing a lot of posts about how we need to protect men because no man is safe, and how just because women are women doesn't mean that they should be automatically believed just because they're women when it comes to sexual assault and harassment and rape. And frankly, that's a bunch of bullshit. And anybody that thinks that way, please just remove yourself from my life and remove yourself from my Facebook and my Instagram and everything, because this is a very, very serious issue. And this is a very, very serious thing that is too often the wrong way in this country. We have a big, big rape culture problem. And if we would address that problem, we wouldn't have these issues. Instead of saying that no man is safe and we gotta protect all men because everybody's out here accusing all these men of rape and they're waiting till they get power and whatever crap you want to talk about in that sense. If you don't do rapey things, you will not be accused of rape. It's as simple as that. Don't do rapey shit, you won't be accused of rape. Second, when these things do go to trial, we, as a whole country, should not be putting the accuser on trial. This trial is for the person accused of sexual assault. But far too often, like every time, we put the woman who is accusing the man of sexual assault on trial. And she then has to prove that it happened. She has to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that it happened. When any other crime, if you have a robbery, attempted murder, or any of that, the person accused of that has to prove that it didn't happen or that they were not the one to do it. But for some reason in this country, when sexual assault cases come up, we make the women or the men or whoever come forward prove that it happened. And they need to have black and white evidence, even if their accuser used a condom. There's no genetic or DNA evidence, whatever. And then we say, oh, it was 30 years ago. Statute of limitations have been removed in this country by states because you cannot tell an accuser how they cope with their abuse. You cannot tell somebody who has experienced sexual assault when it is right or when their time is right or when they are ready to tell people publicly about their sexual assault. There are a lot of cases of sexual assault not reported every year. I do not have an exact number for you because obviously they are not reported. You cannot tell those people who have not reported their assault that they were not assaulted just simply because they did not report. Because there are so many reasons as to why they do not report. We will get into that in the next part of this video. My biggest gripe with everybody that is saying it was 30 years ago, it's her word against his, and he's on the board for the Supreme Court, and blah, 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 is if you are going to tell this woman, this grown woman, who has put her own life, career, everything that she has on the line, the same things he has put on the line after being accused of this disgusting act, she has put the same amount in jeopardy, because if the case doesn't go her way, everybody's gonna say she lied. Even if this trial comes back and says that he is not found guilty by this jury, even if that happens, that does not mean he's innocent. It does not mean he's innocent. And that does not automatically mean that she lied. That means that there was a reasonable doubt in enough of the jury's mind to have him not found guilty. That does not mean that he's not guilty. That's the first thing I want to get cleared up. The second thing I want to get cleared up is, if you tell this woman, we as a society tell this woman that just because it was 30 years ago, we need to drop all charges in the priest molestation ring, because that is also over 30 years ago. Why is it okay for these boys and these children, after 30-some years, to come forward and say that they were assaulted, but this woman cannot? And why is it such a hard concept that we should be teaching our youth that you do not put your hands on people in a disgusting, inappropriate way if it's not wanted? Why should we not be teaching our young children that boys will not just be boys? Because that's a shit-ass way to look at rapey shit. Like, oh, he smacked your ass in public and you didn't do anything to provoke that. Why are we teaching children this? Because that means when they get older and somebody puts their hands on them or tries to force themselves into them, we are telling our children and people that if you're raped, it's okay because they were just being them. Now, I'm not saying that women don't rape, but more times than not, it is men. I am very, very passionate about this because there are 2% of all rape cases that are reported. 2% of people lie about being assaulted. 2%. That's the same percentage as the amount of people in the world with green eyes, which seems like a lot. It may seem like a lot because you guys are gonna say, well, I know somebody with green eyes. You also know somebody that has been assaulted. 1 in 4 women, 1 in 4 will be assaulted at some point in their life. 1 in 4. Just take that in for a second. That means if you are a man that has 4 daughters, statistically, 1 of them will be assaulted in their life, if not more than that. So you as a father, or you as a mother of 4 girls, know that at least 1 in 4 of them will experience some sort of sexual assault. And that's okay with people because men aren't safe. Because society says that women are not on an equal playing field as men. So men are allowed to put their hands on women in whatever way that they want. If you have 1,000 rape cases or assault cases, of the ones that go to trial, they will not all end in conviction. Only 6 out of 100 rapists serve time. Brock Turner is a rapist. Brock Turner was found guilty. Brock Turner was sentenced to 6 months in prison for raping a woman. For raping a woman, he was sentenced to 6 months. He only served 3 of those 6 months because he got out on good behavior. But we leave people for petty crimes like marijuana possession in prison for years. But a rapist, a convicted rapist, got out in 3 months. And that doesn't make him any less of a rapist because he served 3 months in prison. He's still a rapist who's free on the streets to rape other people. Now, if that doesn't upset you, I don't know what will, because that's ridiculous. Any single person, male or female, it can happen to at any time. This is a subject very, very close to home because I'm going to let you guys into my life a little bit. When I was a junior in high school, I was raped. I did not report my rape. Why didn't I report? I did not report for more than one reason. I did not report my rape because I went to school with the kid. I did not report my rape because I did not want to go to trial and have my character put on trial for every single mistake I've ever made in my life to be put on trial to prove that I was telling the truth. 3, he used a condom, so there was no DNA evidence. So I knew that going into that courtroom, if I reported it, that it would be my word against his. 4, yes, I was semi-popular in high school, but he was popular. Who's gonna believe me? 5, I was very, very depressed, very, very suicidal, and trying to come to terms with who I was as a person. So that right there is the reason why people would not believe me. And I knew that as a 17-year-old kid. The sixth reason I didn't report is because I did not want to put my family through the ringer to publicly and go through trial for them to get hate and shit on and all of the disgusting things. I see people commenting on all of these posts that I'm just a whore and I wanted it and it was at a party and so I asked for it. Whatever the case may be. So I sucked it up, tried to figure out how to cope with it on my own. I tried therapy, didn't work because without telling specific details to your therapist, it doesn't really help to cope with it. The reason I didn't tell specific details to my therapist is because I know if I give them specific details, they have no choice but to report it. And just because I did not report it does not make my abuse any less real. It still happened, and I still think about it, and I still have nightmares about it. I still am afraid to go out and drink too much. I'm 25 years old, and I still do not like to not feel in control of my body. People ask me all the time, you don't like alcohol, you don't like alcohol. How can that be? How can that be? I don't have very good experiences with alcohol. Half of my family are alcoholics. Don't want that to be a part of my life. One time I did get a little bit too drunk. Somebody took advantage of me. The second time I was raped, I was not under the influence. This one, I have not told many people about because I'm very, very ashamed of this. And I'm ashamed of this because I know what going to trial would do to my mental health for this one. Again, I knew my attacker. This one was post-transition, and this one is very, very real. And this one is something that sticks with me every single day because the words out of his mouth when it was happening were, I will show you what a real man is. Just think about that in your head. That's fucked up because my transition and me transitioning because I was born one way as a mistake, I needed to be shown what a real man was. Well, I have a news flash for all the people, all the sick, disgusting individuals out there who decide that they want to do rapey shit to people. Whether you're doing it because you want to prove that you're a real man or because you want control. Guess what? Real men don't rape people. Real men don't do rapey shit. And real men don't have to worry about being accused of sexual assault because they treat women and people with respect. But I don't report my rape because me going to trial for that rape, one, I don't have DNA evidence for either because they used a condom, because I had a smart rapist. And me going to trial means that they are going to try to pick apart every piece of my mental health, including my choice to transition. And they're gonna tell everybody that I'm mentally disturbed and that I'm mentally unstable and that I just trying to get attention and trans people are all fucking whacked in the head. And that's not the case at all. And I know that that would be too much for me to handle. And if I wasn't suicidal before, I definitely would be after seeing all the shit people would say about me. Because I know for a fact there would be people that would dead name me and that would misgender me on purpose. That would tell me that if I wasn't so sick in the head and disturbed for doing this transition, that none of this shit would have happened to me and that I just deserved it because I'm disturbed and I think that I could change my gender and I could change my sex and all of this stuff. And that's fucked up. That's fucked up that the reason that I don't report these things is because society would try to tear me apart, and I know for a fact that I would not be able to handle it, and I would kill myself. So all of you people who are posting that we should not believe this woman, why does she have to prove herself to you? She doesn't. She, for the last 30-some years, has had to live with this. He should be the one that has to prove that it didn't happen. Stop trying to tell her that she's a dirty whore and that she's just doing it now because he's in power. How would you feel if somebody came in and violated you and then was going to be in a position of power to try to decide how things affect other people's lives on a grand scale? I'm sorry, but I think you would be triggered too. So I think before you go running your mouths about what she needs to feel and how she needs to go about this, I really, really think that if you have not experienced this and haven't gone through the mental, physical, emotional damage that this does to somebody, you need to shut your mouth because you have no idea what you're talking about. You have no idea what it feels like. And the people that actually have are sitting here trying to support this woman and show her that all people in this world are not shitty, but it sucks because everything about this trial and everything about all of the trials prior to this and all of them that will come, they are very, very triggering to us because it just takes us back to the moments and the days and the hours and the countless minutes in therapy and all of the work we've had to put in to get to be in a point where we are socially functioning members of society, to just have it ripped right away from us again. For people to sit here and tell us that just because it took time for us to come to terms with it and it took time for us to tell people that our claims are invalid. So before you go and make your next post or say your next slur or say your next hate sentence about this woman, for 1 minute, please, just put yourself in the position that she is you and you are her and this has happened to you. And until you are in that moment of shock and distress and regret and self-loathing, you don't know how you're going to respond. Everybody thinks, I'd report it right away, until they're in that moment, because it's not as easy as everybody thinks. I'm not looking for pity or sympathy with this video. I just need to get this off my chest. This was the only way that I could figure out how I wouldn't have to explain it individually to a bunch of people. I'll see you guys next week.